Hey everyone, and welcome back to Don't Make a Scene. Welcome in if this is your first time joining. I'm Jess Olsen, your host, and today I'm sitting down with truly one of the brightest and most incredible women I've had the pleasure to know. She is a financial expert who spent a decade managing wealth before deciding to redefine what success really means. Now, as the founder of Risk It and the host of her own podcast, Risk It with Kristi, she channels her passion and acumen for personal development into helping others create identity-aligned lives. She's helped hundreds break past fears, step into freedom and authenticity. Please welcome Kristi Jimenez-Larson. Hello.
Hello, hello.
How does it feel being on the other end?
So
I don't know yet.
This is my first time I've ever recorded a podcast. It feels more free. I will say that, sitting on this end than sitting on that end, where you're kind of like nervous and you feel like you have to a little bit perform and there's responsibilities, there's duties of the host.
Mm-hmm.
So over here it feels a little bit more free. I'm in my couch. I'm not, in my setting. And I'm gonna probably fidget so much during this
you have a blanket.
episode. I do have a blanket and have pillows, but I'm just like ADHD, so I can't sit down for too long. But I'm very excited to be here, and we're gonna talk about everything, I'm sure. I'm so excited to hear what we talk about.
I know. Usually I'm like, okay, this is what we'll discuss, and here's really what I want to focus on. But I truly think I don't even know what to expect. I'm excited because you and I truly can talk about absolutely anything. I do want to know, I'm curious, when it comes to just you and your story, how did you once upon a time define success, and how do you define it now?
So I love that question. So when I was growing up, money doesn't fall off of tree. Money was very much a scarcity. I was lucky because I was, what is it? What is that called when you're in the middle? Yeah, there we go. I was very much middle class, but it was low on that middle class. And so growing up, the only thing freedom was always big for me. I've always been a daydreamer. So I've never been able to be the person that was inauthentic and just want to strive for money, but it was always money, 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 money.
Mm-hmm.
What can I do to look like success? The businesswoman, speak like success, portray myself like I belong everywhere. It's been a big insecurity my whole life. Now, to me, success is literally fucking this, spending a random Friday talking to my girl. We're doing business. I'm wearing my dad's Raiders jacket, because it's comfy. Just success is authenticity. Success is, being able to spend your days how you want. And success is discipline for sure. Success is discipline, because you can have all of that stuff, but without discipline, it's not success. It's just messy. It's not, all of that stuff.
Do you think there was a moment, there had to be a pivotal moment in your life where you started to redefine what that looked like for you?
So as we stated earlier, I've been a financial advisor I was a financial advisor for 10 years. And so I've sat across hundreds and hundreds of people, and all I have spoken about is money. And I've looked at them, I've looked at their personality, and I've had a very real view of what their financial picture looks like. What's the money? Because it's not just what you have in this investment. I was a planner. So I'm basically your personal CFO. I know every financial decision you have made up until now and where you're at right now. And so being able to kind of undress the persona and create a relationship with these people, because, my clients, these are deep relationships. We're talking about deep personal things all the time. You know, finances at the end of the day is just, it ties so much into the person and personal development, that I started to realize, like, it doesn't matter the dollar amount in your account. Like, if you're miserable, you're miserable. And that to me is not cute. Like, that's not sexy. That's not the life I want to live. And then you have people of all different facets. You have people that are very successful. They make a lot of money and they're broke and they're sad inside and they have no discipline. They're not like, and then you have the ones that are, and they're disciplined and they're excited for it and they love life and they use that money for good. So like when you start to strip that away, you realize that like the abundance is in everyday life. And then obviously just having daughters, I think that it makes you realize, like all I really want to do is spend time, be available for them, you know? And anything that takes me away from that, it's not interesting to me. Like, I don't care what it is, really. So those two things, for sure. And I've never been able to hold a job that didn't give me some type of freedom, especially when it came to my girls. Like, no matter how I've held big positions, it's just, so that's something I've never been able to do. And then taking the shift of like going from corporate or going from like really trying to go down that corporate path or firm path or whatever to owning my own time has always been something that I've teased with. I'm like a serial, not entrepreneur, because like half the businesses, it was, you know, just me trying and having fun and trying to monetize like hobbies. But it's always been something I've toyed with, and then I go back and then I come back and then I go back. Because once it gets scary, then I would hide. Once I kind of decided that unless it was 100,000% what I wanted, I'm not going back to the financial industry in that capacity. And then I decided that like last November. I've always wanted to have my own book of business within financial, so it was always entrepreneurial focused. Like I've always wanted to own my time. But after I left there and then I got the download, Risk It, your name, Kristi, like that came to me.
Yes, because sorry, finish this one. I just interrupted you. I get because even
please interrupt me because I won't ever stop talking.
Okay, my dogs are making noise and sneezing, by the way, if you hear them. No. Oh, bless you, Franklin. And
bless you.
Bless you. When I heard your first episode and you were talking about like that download that you received and like where were you? Because I know you remember this. You have to. Where were you? What were you doing?
100%.
And how did it even click?
So I had been, bless you. So I had been searching for this. Like, again, this is something that I've been toying around with since I was 18. I have wanted to own my own business forever. I was trying to figure out how it was going to look like, what it was going to look like. I've opened so many different things. I've done so many different things. And this time it was kind of like the end of an era. I knew I was breaking up with my career path at that point. I knew I didn't want to do it if it wasn't going to be authentic anymore. Like I can't really continue to inauthentically, have this role of like financial consigliere. Oh my God, I love that. For all of these people, like, and then I'm realizing how much I hate wasting my time, like turning my time for money. And then I'm realizing the time that all of these people spent getting this money, bless you, giving it to me. And then it's my job to like manage this and make sure your dreams come true. And I'm cool with that, but I can't do it from like, that is not all hard lines and masculine to me. That is like, you're pouring out your heart and soul here, and I'm trying to figure out what it is, what life you want to create with this resource. Like, this is precious. This is a precious gift that people are giving me. So when I realized that it was no longer what I wanted, Um, I was searching high and low for a name. I was searching high and low for the answers. Like I was asking, I had already had a conversation with my grandfather and my uncle, which they're both passed. And those are the, two biggest hustlers I've ever heard stories about. Obviously, my whole family has a lot of hustlers. There's a lot of people that have done crazy stuff, but like bringing a freaking family from Cuba to America when you don't know anything and you don't even know the language, and like that is a huge hustler move.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Kudos to you, because I don't know if I probably would just like conform, or
Yeah.
maybe I don't know, like I have gotten that fire beaten out of me so much, and that intuition and that knowing that he had. And then my uncle, I mean, he's built empires, and he's just like huge businesses. So I asked them for guidance, I asked them for clarity, and I was just asking everyone. And then one day I was dropping my girls off and just working it. And then all of a sudden I'm like, what can I use? Where, like something that's, I was just trying to figure it out. And it came to me. It came to me like a fucking bulldozer. It wasn't, because there were so many other ones. I had opened a business, like an Instagram page to hold it, and I still have it, like obsessively abundant, where and it was more about and I'm like I don't want to talk about finance all the time. I was trying to figure out what it was, and this hit me just in the face, like risk it, and there was no denying it. And so with some people, it's just like straight away, you weren't thinking about it. With me, I wanted it. I was searching for it, and I knew it was going to come. And so there was things in its place that I liked. And maybe I'll use that name for like a course later on or something, but it's like when you know,
Yeah.
And when your intuition is hitting you, there's no denying it. And I've been on this road of just like trusting my intuition, trying to figure out what my path is. What, like, you say you want something different, you say you can do it better than these people. So what, define it? What is that? And that's so hard to do, And so when the name came to me, when my name came, and I'm a Leo, hello, like, of course I love that name.
You're like, this is about me right now. This is my name. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, what a great name. I was like, okay, this is it. And it was literally the risk of like the fact that my name is Risk It, and I've been so scared. There was no denying it. There was
like thinking about that. Like even you talking about how you'll start something and then you'll stop, and a few times, and so many people do that. I've done that a million times, and then I get in my head, I start overthinking, and I'm like, oh, who am I? Who am I to be doing this? Or like, that's not going to work. Like no one's going to want to trust me with this or want to listen to me with that, And so you talk yourself out of doing something that you're inspired, so you should be doing it, right? Something that's meant for you. And so I love the name Risk It, because one, because it's your fucking name, and two, it's just like literally the universe is telling you, Kristi, to fucking do it, just to do it.
It's insane. It's insane. And then also like my whole gig in life is like hyping people up and like telling them fucking do it, go do it, you can do this, like believing in them, seeing their gifts. And so it was like God was like, you say you want to do it, well do it. And how the hell are you supposed to tell people to do it if you haven't even done it yourself? You're the one that has to take the risk. I've been on this journey of leadership for the past like 3 years now, where I just realized one day I have to be the leader. Like it has to be me, and I have to take on that role. And it's so scary because I'm such a scaredy cat all the time. And so between that and then like realizing like leaders are doing things that no one else are doing. You're creating a whole new path. You're charging forward unapologetically and without asking for permission, or like most people aren't supposed to like it. You're leading something, you're creating something new. And so, anyways, it was such a gift.
Yeah. When you got that, well, let me first back up because I just mentioned this to you. You know, you were an inspiration to me. Like, you're encouraging people to do things. And in your first episode, yeah, I was like, this is what I've been wanting to do. This is what I'm going to do. Like, I can do this too. So, thank you for being such an inspiration to me and to everybody else. I just love it. I think
It
it's
it honestly is a little like it's so exciting to hear you say that. And I will take it as a gift and like
Mhm.
I honor that. But even that like even that, it's kind of like Kristi 3 years ago wouldn't even have accepted that as like a compliment because it would have been like, I'm not capable of inspiring anyone, you know, because
Yeah.
I'm not whatever. And so going back to just like the gifts and the confidence of like, you know, we had a conversation before this about like people's confidence
Mhm.
and their self-worth. It's like you don't have to be what you think you have to be in order to just do what you love. And when you do that, you are leading away, you are being inspiring. So like with the risk was vulnerability, you
Mhm.
know, the risk was not being liked, you know, all of that. But at the end of the day, none of that stuff happened. The risk really wasn't that big. And the
Yeah.
reward is like, we're right here on your podcast having a conversation, and we both have podcasts now, you know,
Yeah.
like
Yeah. And we're
it's
connecting with people, and it's so worth it for sure. Where do you think
100%.
your confidence comes from? We can talk about little Kristi. Um, you and I on the podcast, on your podcast, we both had similar stories. I think a lot of women can relate where we weren't so confident. I think it led us into bad decisions, bad relationships, things like that. I want to talk about like who you were then, who you are now, and kind of like that journey for you.
Yeah. So confidence is something that, you know, I, I was very confident up until I mean, I had my insecurities growing up. I was overweight. Kids, you know, kids were kids. Sometimes it stung, and other times I was like, yeah, okay, well, you know, I would make fun of them for something I didn't have. So, but innately, I think I was very confident up until, um, you know, high school. I feel like in middle school and high school, you're like, I don't know, it's a confusing time. So you don't really know what's going on. It's hard to like plant your feet. Especially for me, being overweight was like a huge confidence killer. And in my house, it was all women except for my dad. So it was my mom, my two older sisters, and growing up, just watching them. Um, my mom was not someone who spoke nicely about herself growing up. She's done way better over the years. She's realized that, but like that trickled down into my sisters and me. So on one hand, as a woman and as like in my beauty and my self-worth, I didn't have that confidence. But then on the other hand, I was also like Nicholas's daughter, and my dad is like the most confident, like, you know, showy kind of way. Like my dad doesn't leave the house without a little comb to fix his hair, and he, you know, his hair is always on point, and he, you know, he'll make sure he smells good. Um, so yeah, so that part I had. I always had confidence to speak. I always had confidence to like, you're not like my grandparents did not come here from Cuba to have freedom of speech, and I'm not going to fucking use it, you know? Like there was no, I was very tough in that sense. You know, image wise, I think growing up a lot of people have that. And the fact that I was overweight and I had in my house those insecurities, I definitely had that. Um and then but like from a you're going to hear me roar, that was on lock. So I think that, you know, then going into relationships in high school, I had like one or two or three boyfriends by the time I was like in ninth grade. It was all like 1 week, 2 week. My dad was super strict. So I was never like, Um, I was never taught confidence in relationships. I was actually shown the opposite. And so when I got into my first real relationship, it was with someone that was a lot older than me.
What was the age difference?
He was I was 15, he was 21.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And he was 21, like just had gotten here from another country. So, it wasn't the same like as an American 21-year-old. You're in other countries, you're like doing shit since you're 12, you're in the streets, you're making business, and I was very sheltered, very like my dad didn't let us do anything. He was very macho Cuban. And so I think going into that broke my confidence a lot in the sense of the vanity side, because I was never good enough, physically. I remember, and I don't know how deep you want to go here. Like, I don't know how much you want to tell, but like, I remember later when we were active, when we were doing things and we would watch on TV, it was always like, oh, but you're fat and they're skinny. And, or like,
wait,
and like, I'm sitting here. Like,
he would say that?
yeah. Like, it was always a thing of like, the overweightness was always a thing. So, I was just very insecure. Like, it was a manipulation tactic, because honestly, I had no reason being in that relationship, but like, I was already insecure. I didn't know my worth. And then I got into that. And because I probably shouldn't have been there. And that was, it was his way of just putting me in my place. But I still wasn't scared to speak. Like, so the confidence, I think there's two different levels of that. I still would state my opinion. I was still very bold. You weren't gonna not hear me if I wanted to say something. And so it broke my confidence down on one aspect. Outwardly, like justice and all of that, like I would still be able to talk, and I don't know how to describe it. I feel like there's so many different components of confidence.
Yeah, so just like even pausing on that, that resonates so much with me. I feel like it depends on the audience. Like I struggled with confidence as well, but I felt like I had a voice. Like, and even I was telling my husband, it's very interesting talking to people on podcasts and reconnecting with people who I haven't connected with since middle school or high school, and they're telling me like, you were pretty confident, you were pretty popular, you were the president of this, you were leading that, you were telling people to sign these petitions. And I'm like, okay, so, and I don't even remember, that piece of me, but I know there was that confidence clearly, or that there was a lot. I did not lack confidence. I had it though. I had a voice. I was able to speak it, but like inside of me, when I think of me, I'm like, I was not confident at all. So it was like kind of like faking it in a way. And that's that's not really, I don't know if that makes sense to you at all. Like
100%, because it's almost like imposter syndrome, or like you're playing a role, but like inside, same, like in middle school and in high school, like I have always been known for being bold and being spicy and like, but I also wasn't confident in the sense that like I never really tried for anything in my life because I was so scared that I was going to fail. Like I was never really told I was intelligent ever, except for like recently I just went through something where like someone said it so many times, so matter-of-factly, like, you're really smart. And I was like, really? Like so there's so many different levels to like confidence and in different arenas. And in some ways I had it, and then in other ways it was completely shambled, And so when I felt passionately about something, I was able to voice my opinion. But I also didn't feel like I was worthy. I didn't feel like I was capable.
That's wild.
Yeah.
It's such a nuanced thing because yes, like I was confident enough to voice my opinion and to voice what I was thinking, but I wasn't confident enough to be like, oh, wait. To like to truly believe in myself, believe that what I was saying was true. Like, isn't that, it's such a weird thing.
It is. And it's because there's so many doors to unlock, you know, like me feeling good about my physical was just recently, you know, like really within the past couple of years. But if you see all the pictures, I'm like, you know, so I portray something, but then really when someone were to give me a compliment, immediately I'm like, no. Even now I have to catch myself where I'm like, what? So there's so many doors to unlock. But yeah, so just going back to like that part, I was in that relationship. It was really, really abusive in every way, shape, and form. And I couldn't find the confidence to leave. I couldn't find my place. And it just, the disrespect, allowing the disrespect, it wasn't the disrespect that knocked me down. It was the fact that I would allow it. Like I knew that I had the choice and I knew I could do this. And the fact that I was so weak made me just berate myself. Like, you're so fucking weak. You're so fucking weak. Like, you can't just do this. You know this is wrong. Like, and you're just fucking staying. Like, and I would just fucking stay. Why
did you stay, do you think? And if we're reflecting in real time, why did you stay?
So in the moment, I was staying because I couldn't prove people right, and that relationship was wrong for me. I didn't have anywhere to go. Like, now reflecting back, I didn't have anywhere else that felt safe. And even though that didn't feel safe, it was still mine. I don't know how to describe it.
It was still better than the unknown of what was not there. So your brain
100%.
keeps you with the familiar of what is unsafe rather than going to the unfamiliar of unsafe.
100%. And there was love. There very much was love. So it was also the only place that I could find that love. And as fucked up as it sounds, it was also the only real place that I could get connection. And even if that connection was negative, even if that connection was raw, just darkness, you know, it was an authenticity and like I don't know how to describe it, that just felt like, okay, this is safe, I guess. I don't know how to describe it. You probably know more than me.
No.
On like a psychology side.
No, I mean, did you do I'm gonna let you finish because I could talk about this.
I mean, I can talk forever too about it.
Well, no, I mean,
and I actually
how long were you in that relationship?
So I was in the relationship for 10 years. We had broken up for a year after like 4 years, and then right back to it, and we had a daughter already. It was, familiar. It was just, it did change, like it evolved as we got older, as the family grew. And it wasn't as bad, but it was still just ridiculous. It was just ridiculous. But again, I couldn't prove people right. It was a familiarity that I knew. I wasn't confident. I felt like I wasn't really wanted anywhere else, which is crazy. I didn't feel like I had a lot of, I don't know. It was a dark place to be in mentally, that's for sure.
Yeah. It's hard to unpack those relationships and to identify just one reason. Because when I ask you, why did you stay? That's a very hard question to respond to. I think everyone who's in a violent relationship. And I mean, since we're talking about it, I do want to say that domestic abuse can happen in so many different ways. It's not just physical. There's verbal, there's sexual, there's digital now, digital abuse. There's so many different ways of mistreatment. And then with that, as a woman, as a man, whoever's the victim of this, like it is like you're probably the perfect candidate. These people come looking for you because you lack confidence or because you are, used to putting people before yourself or, for whatever reason, because that's also nuanced. And then why do you stay? It's because the lack of confidence or financial reasons. You have nowhere else to go. I don't feel safe anywhere else. So there's like so many different things. And I don't think, it's wild. Everybody's situation is so different. It's very common though. And it's just not really talked about enough, in my opinion.
And I think that, I mean, in abusive relationships, it's more magnified, right? That like need to stay, but there's so many people in so many relationships that aren't abusive that stay. There's so many people that are in jobs that stay. So it's like, we're staying because something within it is fulfilling a void within us, and until you figure out what that void is, you're not gonna make the change for the life that you actually want, and so in that case for me, a huge thing, and just going back to domestic abuse relationships in particular, the other thing too is that manipulation is real. Manipulation is 100% real, and people have power to influence you, and you have to be on guard all the time because it could be as simple as people are influencing you to live a life that you don't like. And then it could be as simple, as deep as someone's influencing you and manipulating you to believe that you got smacked in the face because it was your fault, because you should have been more quiet, or you should have not done this, or, or their anger is justified, or like literally that is why I stayed, and I knew it was wrong. It took me a lot of years to get out of it, but I was so deep into the people pleasing, into the manipulation, that I wasn't I wasn't hot shit. I wasn't smart. I wasn't special. I wasn't like that. Was so deep. I think I also like, in one hand it's done to you, because in one hand we shouldn't have to have our guard up, and we shouldn't have to like protect ourselves constantly. But then on the other hand, I also called it because, and it sounds fucked up to say I called it because I was 15 and he was 21, but I called it because of the confidence and the self-worth issues. And so those issues stem from something not in my control. I was a little girl. But at the end of the day, that's where I was. And that's what met me. And so it was 10 years. It wasn't just from 15 to 17 or whatever. It was a very long time. And throughout that time, I knew this is not right. This is not right. And it was, it was that little by little hyping myself up on like a micro basis to be able to finally be like, nothing else matters anymore. I don't care anymore. I'm not happy, So
a few things, a few things with that, going back to us being so easy to manipulate and we're so impressionable. And I'm saying us, not you and me. Us universally as a society, as a collective. I think there's a lot of people who have broken inner childs. I don't know if people know what that means, but like the little person inside of you is broken. And I feel like we don't do enough of that work. And so I think a lot more people than society thinks is very broken inside, and because children are impressionable. And a lot of us are really big adult children running around with these little baby inner children, inner teens that have not been loved, that have not been respected, that have not been given the emotional support that they deserve. So I think it's actually very easy. And I know that they say it's like 1 in 3 women and 1 in 4 men are in these violent relationships. I would say more.
Oh, wow.
I would say it's actually more because, like I said, I don't think it's just physical. To me, emotional abuse is far worse.
Yeah.
Because, and maybe not far worse, but I think it leads you down a road where you are going to tolerate the physical abuse. I mean, both of them can impact you just so deeply in so many different ways. So there's that. But, and then also when it comes to leaving, I know that statistically, and I used to do a lot of work with this because I myself was in a really bad physically abusive relationship, but it takes women on average 7 times before they leave. They will try and try, and the average is 7. That's how many times a woman will try before they actually successfully get out of a relationship. So, I mean, for you, what did that process look like?
So for a long time, leaving like wasn't an option, you know, like it was just like, I don't know, I just tolerated it. I just really tolerated it for a really long time. I didn't want drama. Like for a big thing is I really didn't want to prove people right. I had a lot of people talk shit in my family about this, and I had a lot of, it wasn't even so much my friends, like it was just really a lot of family members talk shit. And you know, now looking back, it's like, okay, they had a right to talk shit. They had a right to say that, but it never came from like a loving place. It was never like, Kristi, this isn't right. You know, it doesn't feel right. You know, like that. It was more like, well, blah, 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 like you just like shit talking, you know, where it's kind of like now
a place of like
love. It was shit talking. Yeah, like it was complete shit talking. It was like, you think you're so smart, you think this and that. And I got pride for days, baby. Like I have ego for days. So when you do that to me, I'm going to be like, oh, I'm going to show you. So a lot of like, you know, I can remember times where it was a physical altercation. I was being hurt, and I literally would not leave. I wouldn't leave the house. I remember one time I like went to my car in the driveway and just sat there and cried. Like I would stay in the house, in the bed, in the closet, just crying, you know? And so growing up, I also I didn't experience any domestic violence in my household at all, but there was there was fighting all the time. There was arguing all the time, and the arguing was intense. There was, there would be drinks around, so it's just, it wasn't abnormal for me for things to get very disrespectful and very like intense. And so, and no one left at home, like no one, it was just be quiet, go to your room and, try to deal with it and then shove it under the rug. Nothing happened. It was normal. So in this case, it was that to an extreme, because in this case, like people are actually hurting me. Like this is physical now. I mean, I used to get into like me and my sisters would fight every once in a while. Now, not every once in a while. Like me and my sisters were pretty physical too. like my sisters would punch me. They would like, and so, and it wasn't ever like my sisters would beat my ass, but like they were my older sisters. This was the fucking 90s and early 2000s, and we are all very strong women, like, so shit popped off. Like it wasn't, I don't know, my mom, I don't know, my mom would like joke with us and like, play and punch. So it wasn't, I don't know. It was a lot of
It was
ego
like
in my
it was
house.
normalized a little bit.
It was
It was your
normalized. Yeah.
normal.
So when
Yeah.
I got there, I knew a romantic relationship was not supposed to feel that way. I knew, but like also just this is why like you can tell your kids till you're blue in the face, don't do this, don't do that. They're going to see what you do. Like you have to live with that integrity of like what I want for myself, what I want for my children, I have to give to myself. The life I want for them, I have to have a loving partner. I have to have something that I'm passionate about. I have to have because they're watching you. And what you create as normal for them will be their normal, no matter how many times you like, and maybe this is the normal you create for them, but their range is actually this. So like my normal was never, physical in the sense of a romantic, like my parents never got physical ever, but it was the arguing was there, the disrespect was there, the intensity was there. And so when that turned into I have nowhere else to really feel safe, this is my safe spot, this is where I'm at right now, it was kind of just like replicating the role that I had always
Around.
seen,
Yeah.
in a different way. And by the way, like I said, there was also love. It wasn't just, I wasn't like thrown in a dungeon the whole time. Um, so I also got loved in a way that I didn't see also. And so,
It's called,
yeah, man, it's just fucked.
yeah, that's called love bombing. Like when
Bueno,
you,
love bomb.
yeah, I mean, of course there's love. Of course the highs are like really freaking high because that's what you hold on to. Like it could be really, really good. Like it is really, really good. If I didn't do this, this wouldn't have happened, and then you just start blaming yourself and you go on and on and on. It's just like a cycle and you stay around and you stick around and yeah, going back to just not the confidence. But even like you said, logically, you knew this was not right. In your body, you're like, like, but we're not like trained or like really conditioned or taught how to like listen to our bodies too. Like we're just like, okay, this is what I'm around. This is fine. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And so
That's what my body knew.
yeah, and
Yeah.
your body knew it too. So, yeah, it's such a wild thing. Going back to like just you leaving that relationship because it does take confidence to leave, so how, I guess, when and how did you finally leave? Were your children in the picture at that time? And,
Yes. Yeah.
they were,
So there were like multiple waves, right? Like it wasn't just like all of this and then I was done and then I closed the door. Like you said, like there's different attempts. So I remember wanting to leave very early on. Um like especially after finding out I was pregnant, that was a lot. Like that was like, oh, okay. I was like, this is concrete now. Like this is, there it's like you think everything's fun and games until it's permanent. And then so recently after I had given birth, I found out that was being cheated on throughout my entire pregnancy. And uh the next day I buy this man a very expensive gift.
shut up.
It's not funny, but like that's how desperate I was to cling on to like this isn't happening. This is like just and by the way, when I found out the what was given to me as the reason was you got fat and I
Oh,
didn't like it anymore.
I'm so
I
sorry.
had your fucking baby.
Yeah.
But whatever. And so it was I buy him a gift. Like it was just
What
and I
was
remember
what were you thinking at the time? What would this gift do? Why the gift?
it was like anything to not face reality. Like it was like I can keep this perfect image and I can play this. I can play this, you know? I can make this okay. If I do this, I don't think there was deep thought into it. It wasn't like a strategic play. It was just my desperation to keep things where it was safe for me and all that. So I remember I did that, and then like a few weeks later, a very, very close family member to me was getting divorced, and I was speaking to the husband, and because he didn't want it. And I remember like sitting on the floor crying my eyes out in my room, in our room, and just being like, leave, like begging him to leave. Do not let this person tell you they don't want you again. Don't let it happen. Don't give them the opportunity, because it'll happen 3 times and you'll still say, and like you won't, like I literally was like, I feel less than a bug right now. Like I feel less than a cockroach. I've never had dark thoughts towards myself, thank God, but like that was probably the lowest I ever felt. Like I just felt like I was like, I wasn't a person. I was the shell of a person, and there was no way I was done. Like there was no way for me that that was it. Like I was just, I don't know. I don't know how to describe it. I was so desperate, so pathetic. I knew I was so desperate. I knew I was so pathetic. Obviously, I give myself grace now because I understand the psychology of it. But when you're in it and you know it's wrong and you don't have the power to say something, and to me, that's what hurt more than any of the abuse, was like, I'm powerless. And not realizing the reason I was powerless was because I wouldn't use my fucking power, you know, and I was just so scared all the time. So after that, there was another fight, and this person, the person I was in a relationship with, he literally was like, I'm not coming home until you leave. Like, I'm not coming home until you leave. And I was like, come home, come home. Like, I wouldn't leave. I wouldn't leave. I remember I can tell you stories for days.
Well, this is what they do. And not every, again, like I said, not every relationship is the same. Narcissism is, I know that's like a word everybody uses now way too lightly. But that is true, like malignant narcissism, and probably, bleeding into all of the other things of narcissism. But that is what they do, is like, you're the problem. You better not come back. Like, you have the issue. You have the problem. It's not me. And so they flip it. It's such a mind game. It's such a mind fuck. And you're just like, what the fuck? You're like, I'm going to leave you, actually. But then when they spin it, you're like, wait, no. No.
Yeah, like, because it makes you feel like, and there's also this like real thing where like people have to show people where they're wrong. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I had to be like, no, but you have to see that you're wrong.
Yep.
And when I let go of that, like, I don't care anymore to parent you, to tell you, to show you, you just be who you are, and I'm just not going to be a part of it. Like, when I let that go also, that was a huge thing. But yeah, he was like, I'm not coming home until you leave. And at this point I was like, I have to, there was nothing else. So at one point, we were young, we lived with his parents. At one point, I moved into another room in the house, broken up, because I wouldn't leave the house. Like, it was so...
It makes you do things that you wouldn't naturally do. Like, you become, there's actually a term for it, and I don't know what it is. I can't remember, but it's like you
like Stockholm syndrome.
Yeah, it's like you pick up these abusive tendencies as well, but it's in reaction to how you were treated. And so you look crazy, you look like the problem, and it's like, but you made me, you know what I mean? And it's just
a mind fuck.
It is.
And then when you think about, like, I didn't really have much at home that I felt like I could go back to and like rest in either. It was like, I rather like this. This is my life now. Like, what are you talking about? Like,
yeah.
What? So finally I leave. I take one piece out of the closet. Like, I am moving slow. I am pushing as hard as I fucking can to like get this bitch to do something, and this bitch is like me.
Yeah.
And I get all my clothes in the car. I get Gigi. At this point I had my firstborn. And I stay with my cousin for like, I don't remember, it was 2 weeks or for a month. And I stay with her because I'm like, well, we might get back together, and I don't want to go home yet. Like, I couldn't show my family that like this was as bad as it was. I just,
When there's
I don't know
that
if it's
potential.
perfectionism.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if it was like perfectionism. I don't know if it was just, I had no self-worth. So the illusion of things being good and working out was what,
It makes it real too. Because even like me getting slapped across the face, punched in the face, pushed on the ground, very terrible things. Like, I never told anybody what was happening. Some people witnessed it, not my people. But I remember there was like an incident where my parents actually had to come pick me up from his house. He called my dad. I called my dad actually, very scared. And he took the phone from me and like told my dad, "Your daughter's on drugs. She's going crazy." I didn't do drugs. "Your daughter's on drugs. She's going crazy. I don't know what to do with her." And my dad very calmly was like, "Put her back on the phone." Um, he said, "I'm coming to grab you. Your mom and I are coming to grab you." So they came, they picked me up from the house, and I was very badly beaten. It was something you could not deny, and my parents witnessed it. My dad is very cool and collected. You describing your dad, I imagine he'd probably go insane.
Oh, my dad would have murdered him.
Yeah, my dad told him to get away from us, like just very calmly, and their goal was to get me out of there and to get me home. And so that's exactly what they did. But I just remember the shame I felt. I was so embarrassed. Like I just can't believe my parents saw this, and they saw our fight, and it wasn't that big of a deal. And they're like, "No, this is not okay." But it's like that shame, that embarrassment, and it made it real because that was the moment I could never go back to him. "You're never allowed to date this guy." And I continued dating him because I was fucked. You know what I mean? Because I was just so, you can't tell me what to do. Like, it's not that bad, you know? But you never want to tell people because then you start getting the opinions. And it sounds like for us, it's like, I don't want to prove you right. So I'm going to prove you wrong.
I'm so sorry that happened to you. What weak men.
Yeah.
And what you're saying is 100% right. That's actually, you saying it makes total sense. Like, if I were to have told people, I would have felt the shame, and I wasn't ready to feel that shame. I could masquerade that shame if I kept it to myself and I didn't tell people. And yeah, I didn't want it to ever get to the point where I couldn't be in that situation, which is so fucked because I wanted so bad to get out of that situation. But like, kudos to your dad for like handling that well, and your mom, and making sure that that it was a safe space, like you were so manipulated by that point that you didn't see it, but like to be able to be like, listen, no. Yeah, it's so crazy how you like make excuses, and how you make excuses for people, and how and the people that you love. And sometimes it's not even like physical or domestic abuse, it's just like it's bad shit that they're doing, and you just make an excuse for it, and then your standard goes down. Or maybe it's just bad habits or bad addictions, and so you love them, so you make excuses for them, but then your standard goes down. Like, it's like you have to hold those boundaries and those standards for yourself, because if not, they take you with, and you won't know. You won't realize it till you're like all the way at the bottom already. But I did go back. We broke up for like a year, but it was kind of like we still had the first child. So, it was kind of like he would sleep over, I would go over there, we would do things with the kids. And he wanted to get back and I would say, no, no. I was like, you need someone stronger than me. Like I am a soft girl at the end of the day when it comes to like, I want to trust in you. And like, you need someone to like put you in your place. I'm not that bitch. So eventually it just came back around. It was different. But it still was disrespectful. It's like, it was a level up, but it wasn't still a level up in hell, So then I knew that it wasn't going to last. I had broken up, gone back a week later because I was scared. Like once kids are involved, it gets so much heavier because you're just like, everyone's pressuring you to maintain the family unit. You feel bad. There's so much limiting beliefs around like women breaking up with breaking their families, even though what the fuck, like you're the one doing everything wrong right now. There's no reason for me to stay. There's no reason for this child to have this example. But there's just so much weight on that. And I am a family person. Like I am 100% a family person. And so it was very hard for me, but I knew I wasn't going to. So I would break up, I would get back together, break up, and then I got pregnant again. And it wasn't exciting the second time either. It became exciting, so I was like, fuck it, all right, let's do this. Like if I'm doing it, I'm doing it. This is mine. But it was, it was very disheartening because I did not want another reason to have to make it harder to stay. And so, but the flip side of that was that it didn't work that way. It gave me more of a reason to need to leave. And so,
I love that.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. It was more of an excuse to be like, you got two girls, Kristi, like the things you have. And after I got pregnant the second time, there was no more physical abuse. For all intents and purposes, the family unit felt it felt like a family unit, but it was still always going to be inauthentic because we just weren't in alignment. Like the lifestyle that he wanted was not the lifestyle that I ever envisioned was going to be okay. Why was I thinking this is okay? The disrespect, the verbal abuse, like it was still even though it was like tied up with a bow, it was still shit tied up with a bow. Like it was just not, if I could close my eyes and take myself out of this relationship, what would Chris like? And by the way, the first time we broke up, it was so devastating to me. And I didn't know who I was to the point that I literally made myself say out loud all the time, what does Kristi want? Like I would go to get my nails done. And when I was choosing a nail color, I would always think, what does he like? What would he want? What would he want? What would he want? And I couldn't even make that decision to like, what nail color do I want? What jeans does Kristi like? It was in like, people thought I was crazy because I would force myself to say this outside, like in front of people, like, I don't have anything to do. It's a Friday night. What does Kristi want to do? And I'll like, oh, maybe I'll watch a show and have a glass of wine by myself. Like it was just so, I lived and breathed and operated in what I thought was going to give me love. And I'm not going to get emotional, but like to get to that point where I was no one now. And to have to literally, like, I feel like at that point, I feel like I was almost like I got into an accident or something and I just lost all sense of like, what is my name? Who are these people that say they're my parents? Like, I didn't know anything. I had to completely relearn myself as if I had never known myself. And so in the process of doing that, it was another few years, whatever. I ended up leaving when my second daughter turned 1. It was a few months after that. It was actually on my 25th birthday. But I remember after when I got pregnant, I said, okay, at least in her first birthday pictures, there'll be pictures of all of us together. So at least hold out till she's 1. I did hold out till she was 1. After that, the relationship, like, he was gone a lot for work. Then he got another gig that was completely illegal that he wouldn't, so we didn't really see each other as much. So it wasn't hard to it was just me and my daughters for a lot. And then when I turned 25, that's when I was like, I have lived the past 25 years under the reign of someone else. First, it was my dad, because my dad was very protective, and he was
the man.
He had 3 daughters.
Yeah. Yeah.
He was the man of the house. He had 3 daughters. He knew how his friends treated women. He knew how he looks at women, like he knew all the bad things that could happen to women, and all of the, and he's very old school about what is appropriate and not. And so we couldn't do anything. We weren't allowed to do anything. We weren't allowed to watch anything. We weren't allowed to, we were very sheltered. And then there to another 10 years living and breathing under the strict fucking rules of this other guy, and trying to just live and breathe for someone to like me. And I was just like, I'm so done. Like, I'm so done. What standards have I created for myself? Like, what? I wasn't even raised with these standards. Like, yeah, my parents fought, and it was ugly sometimes, and there was a very dark side to my house. But, like, also, my parents taught me how to fucking act.
Yeah.
I was Christian. I grew up knowing what was appropriate and not appropriate. I knew what was right and what was wrong. I knew every single card, every birthday, every Christmas, my dad wrote, study hard, study hard. Like, I knew what was expected of me, and I knew, my family knows how to act, it's not like certain things. We had problems in my household particularly, but we were a normal fucking family. And so to go from that to this very, I don't want to say low class, but low class, it was just low fucking class. And I know I could be low class to people because I curse and whatever, but the thought process of deteriorating people down. Yeah, and taking advantage of people, and just I was raised basically from 15 to 20. This guy taught me how to drive. It was
you were
was
so
raised
young.
in this whole other. So young, and I was 15, cooking and cleaning and doing shit, because God forbid I'm at his house and his mother's doing things around the house, and I'm just sitting there not helping her. So I was very much a grown woman at a very young age.
Well, but also you're not biologically, your mind isn't even fully developed. You basically have this man who's abusive raising you, his mother, his family. So you were essentially raised by 2 different households. And so that really
100%.
messes with your brain and your development and what you think, it definitely blurs the line. So that's actually it makes me, I actually got a little emotional just hearing that. And thank you so much for sharing all of this and sharing your story and being so vulnerable. For you to sit there at 25 years old, because I still think that's very young. And for you to say what does Kristi want? What nail color does she want? I got emotional when you started saying that, because I'm 35 years old. I just started asking myself, this year, January, after having a baby, Jess, what do you want? Truly, that is something I do right now, 10 years after you. So I am so proud of you, and you're such an inspiration. And gosh, what the hell?
Thank you.
I just want to
hug you. Trauma, baby. Trauma.
I know, trauma, man. But you can bring all of this. 19... You can bring all of this into your work and what you do and the people you connect with now.
100%. And so that's, as I got out of that relationship, I'd like the first time that relationship where we broke up, that's when I started like, what does Kristi want? So the second half didn't go as bad because I also wasn't so attached. Like if he wanted to go out and do things that I wasn't really a part of, I was like, no, I'm going to stay home and drink wine and watch Sex and the City, So that allowed me to like kind of get into that realm. And then when I left that, and I got into another relationship, with my current husband, and just, that brought up a whole other lesson of confidence, because then I got unconfident in a whole different way. Like just going from that to then going to a good man that comes from a really good family, and then also simultaneously stepping into a profession that like you have to show that you have it all together all the time. That was like the biggest imposter syndrome, and that was a huge thing of confidence. But then sitting across from sitting across from affluent people and people who have done shit and have things together and they don't have these problems, and like having to like pretend like I'm at their level, I realized the real only place I can give you the knowledge on the markets, I can give you like, this is what you should do strategically. But like what really connected me to them was that background, was that emotional EQ, was that like, okay, well, you're holding this really high position, or you're the owner of this really badass business. You have all this money in the bank, but you have the same limiting beliefs I do. Like, what are you talking about? You're so cool, you're so great. You're able to do all this stuff. You're awesome. And then going and mixing in that personal development is what really made me, after the 10 years of that, made me be like, well, maybe I don't really want to talk about money all the time. Like maybe what I want to talk about is like shifting your identity and helping you through that process.
Because you've done that multiple times. Like you've done that. You've done it in spaces and environments that are like very difficult to do that. Like when you're constantly pushed down, it's not like you would expect the person to rise from that. Like, hey, I'm just gonna like literally push you the fuck down and scream in your face and be abusive and tell you you're fat and disgusting and cheat on you and manipulate you, and and then it doesn't sound like you really had that much support, because you have people who are not coming to you as, an emotional supportive person, but as like a, haha, like, this is fucking crazy, I told you, and you're just, there's so much not in your favor. And this is what you and I connected at the very beginning, because I knew you were so emotionally mature and intelligent. It was so refreshing, and I loved talking to you. We connected so well. And you brought up your daughters, and like I said, you did it in your first episode, and I truly think those were gifts for you. And it sounds like it really shaped your perspective of like, I have 2 girls now, and that is such a relatable thing, for me at least. And I think that is, not just that, there's other things like but you rose, like you did the damn thing, and here you are helping others now.
Thank you. I appreciate it so much. I think that, when I look at it in terms of my life, I'm just like, because it took me so long to recognize, like I'm always the last person in the room to know when someone's an asshole, because I'm always seeing the good. So like, it took me so long to realize what was happening. It took me so long to deal with the aftermath of what happened. I'm still every day really working towards it. So when it's my own path, I'm not as, I don't know, like it's not as impacting for me, and it's not as profound, because I'm like, I should have stood up the first time something happened. I should have stood up. I remember telling, it was a close family friend that, like, it was like a couple double date kind of thing. And I remember very early on being like, I don't like that guy. Like, I don't like him. It's too much. Like, leave me alone. I should have stuck with that energy, like, so there's so many times where I don't give myself the grace. And there were so many times in those moments that I didn't give myself the grace. And so to be able to recap it, and I appreciate you and I thank you so much for giving me the platform to talk about it, because I'm so willing and open to speak on these things when it's appropriate and when there's the capacity for it. And I don't really ever feel like there's the capacity for it. I don't really ever feel like a lot of people don't know these stories. Like, my family doesn't really know what happened. They found out like a few years ago that this was more of an abusive thing. And they've never heard any of this. I think maybe 2 people, 3 people, 4 people have heard this from me. And so, I appreciate you for giving me this platform, because talking to you and hearing your story about it, women don't talk about these things. They don't talk about their experiences because of that, because they feel like they don't have the platform for it, because they don't want to just come out and be like, I was abused, like, it's not, that's, first of all, there's still shame in it. There's still embarrassment in it. There's, sometimes it feels like, it gives you a persona of someone that you're not anymore, like, there's so many things behind it that people don't talk about it. And so to hear your story that we just barely touched upon, I'd love to hear more about it, and, the micro lessons, because there's always like small epiphanies till the big epiphany. To hear us conversing in it, like, this is very powerful and very profound. And so I really, really appreciate you asking me on here and allowing me to just, speak my truth. It's never happened before.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate you wanting to join me and just be so vulnerable and talk about it. And to your point just now, I haven't had these conversations with people. Like, my husband knows about them and my family now, but no, it's just not talked about enough. And I think there are so many people in relationships now that are just not physically abusive. I said it earlier, emotional abuse is just as harmful, and financial abuse and digital abuse, just any type of control. And people love control, and you find it anywhere. And I just want to encourage men and women to be more like Kristi. Ask yourself, what is it that you want, right? Like, listen to your body. Your mind can really fool you. And hopefully listen to this episode and see someone in Kristi, and even in me, and just, if we can do it, truly anyone can do it.
And to give yourself grace throughout the process. I think that it took me so long because I was not being my friend. I wasn't helping myself get out. I was talking shit to myself the same way that everyone around me was talking shit to myself. You're so weak. You're so pathetic. Like, you just fucking stay. You have no fucking power. You're just going to stay here. You're just going to stay here. Like, I was literally bullying myself while I was getting bullied. And then I was asking, like, why I have no power to do this? So, even though if you're in it and it's wrong and you should leave, but you haven't pinpointed it, just give yourself grace. Give yourself grace, step back, analyze, ask yourself, what do you want? When it's not in alignment, clocked. I got it. When it's not in alignment, you keep going and you keep going until one day you're going to realize who you are enough to be able to get out of that. And if Jess and I can do it.
Yeah.
Fuck.
It took us years, 10 years, 5 years for me. It's a process. So yeah, give yourself grace. And I want to encourage everyone to reach out to you. You are absolutely incredible. And like I said earlier, I just listened to one of your episodes, the very first one, and it encouraged me to be right here where I am right now. And in just that one fucking episode. So, and since then, every conversation we have, it just is it brings so much light and air to just my body and to my mind. And you are truly just the best. So I really encourage everyone to go listen to you and to go find you. Where can they do that?
Thank you. I appreciate everything you're saying to me. So my business page is Risk It with Kristi. Kristi is Kristi. So risk it with Kristi. And then also I love friends. So you can follow me on my personal page, and that's Kristi, Kristi__Larson with an EN at the end. So LARSEN. And I'm all over Jess's page. So you'll find me in a like or a comment or something like that if you can't find from there.
And I will tag everything in what I post as well. But thank you again for being here. I love you. And I'm sure I'll chat with you very soon.
100%.